There you are. Hello, welcome back to the garage. If you haven't seen the video on the Aprilia Tuono that I rented in Spain and took out for a little run, please check that out. It hasn't had a lot of views, but it was an awful lot of fun to make. Back in the garage now, what I want to do is the carburetors. I want to rejet the mains. They're currently 140s, I've confirmed, and I want to go to 160. I also have already put the idle jets up from 0.25 to 0.275, and I want to double check that the carbs have got the original emulsion tubes in them matched to the original needles that came with them, just for sort of like a continuity really. So that's what I'm going to do there. I've got some new float pole gaskets and some new jets. Okay, put you on time lapse and crack on with that. A little bit of a fiddly job, this one. The emulsion tubes and a lot of the internal fittings are brass, so I need to be very careful that I don't damage anything, as well as the aluminium of the carburetor itself. So these are the two emulsion tubes side by side. This one is the original, that is which came with the rebuild kit. And there does seem to be a fair old difference between those. I hadn't noticed it, I hadn't even checked it before, just assumed, you know, rebuild kit exactly the same. But doesn't appear to be, does it? Okay, progress report. First carburetor done. The old emulsion tube is in, the new 160 main jet is in, and the old original needle is back in. Then looking at the second carburetor, this is just for illustration, the old emulsion tube is in, but one of the jets they supplied has got the wrong thread. Won't fit. There's one that does. So I've had to go through a good route around of all my parts, and I did manage to find another 160 jet, luckily, that fits, so I can now continue reassembling that. But I had to have a walk around the garden just to gather myself for a minute, because I thought, you know, bloody hell. Right, crack on. So that's it for the minute. Both carburetors are set up the same. I've put the old emulsion tubes in, the old original needles in, 160 main jets, 27.5 idles, and I've also put the circlip on the needles down one notch, so on the second notch. So when it comes time to running, they're both set up the same. Let's see how we get on with that. So let's set these aside. So I've received a new base plate from Vape. Thank you, Daniel, so much for helping me out with that. I really appreciate it. And he's also sent me replacement screws for the sensor. So what I'm going to do now is build up the Vape system. So here am I taking a look at the Vape. I had to go and look at the video that I did on the Vape and remind myself how it all goes back together. Here's the Vape sitting loosely on the crankcase covers, making sure the neutral wire sits underneath. I need to tidy up these wires. I seem to recall when I fitted it to the engine, when the engine was in the frame, that this was a little bit complicated to try and get all these wires tidied away. What I will do now the engine's out is take the opportunity to make sure I get a good seal, and I've had to split this obviously because I didn't want to de-pin the plastic plugs and feed them through. So I'll reseal this using a heat wrap or tape or super glue or all three. So I shall put this on and get back to you. Well, putting it on as a sub-assembly didn't really work out because trying to thread the wires through and also put in that sealing grommet was quite difficult. So the Vape system was really taken apart again, on, off, the brackets were taken off, rerouted, and it was just trial and error. So this is a familiar looking setup. The vape system is installed and snugged down. I think I've got the wiring in such a way that it won't snag on the outer case, but that's to come. And the wiring through the engine case is nicely waterproofed and secured. So now I want to find top dead center, go back 2mm to find the firing point, and then we can put this on, and as you can see, the little nubs there and there. I've got to go halfway across the magnet reader here for firing. I will do both cylinders, as it's been suggested that it's a good thing to do, but I don't really want to find out that the crank's been rebuilt out of sync. But there you are. Okay, let's get on with finding top dead center and 2mm back. Yeah, so now we're starting to pick up. There it was, just there. So I need to go back 2, 1, 2. Just take off the socket. Just checking that that needle's not moving. Okay, I'll bring you in for a closer look. So there we are, halfway across. So I'll just put the bolt in and tighten that down, and then check the other cylinder as well, just to let you know that it's not moved. Okay, doing the second cylinder now, and again halfway across. What I'll do a photo of each and post them now. I might just give that a little mark with some white paint so that I could do a strobe test once the engine is back in the bike and running. Okay, let's carry on putting things back together. Just putting on the engine casing now on the gearbox side, and rifling through my box of many parts to find nice new screws, all genuine Yamaha ones, just to make it look extra pretty. Okay, so I thought I'd start off by doing the squish test. So I've got some 2mm solder wire. I don't really want to take the heads off, so what I'm going to do is feed the wire down through the spark plug hole into the side, if you like, of the piston and the bore, and squish it, turn it over and measure what we've got. Okay, let's crack on. Okay, I can see that that's gone over. I can see down the bore and it's gone over to this side, so I'm just going to start to turn it. Here it comes, piston's coming up. And there we're over top dead. And there's our squish. There's our squish. 0.80. 0.80. I don't know whether that's correct or not. Okay, I'll do the other side. The other side of the same bore, that is. 0.80. Do the same this side. Again, I can see the top of the piston. Okay. Here it comes. 0.80. 0.80 again. Now you can see the squashed bits of solder. All change on the workbench. The bike is on and the engine is ready to go in. So I had to ask Claire to come and help me with this because lifting the engine in and then getting all of the mounting holes lined up is quite tedious and difficult to do on your own. Much easier when you've got someone to help you. So the engine is in and all the bolts are through the holes, so it's now a question of going round, tightening them all up. The engine's back in, bolted down, wiring is threaded through and connected back up to the loom. That's quite straightforward. Now I think it's time for the carbs to go on and kickstart, and we'll knock up some premix and see if we can not get it going. I realise here though that it might be sensible to get the chain on and the back wheel fixed into position before I put the exhausts on, because it's much easier to get to the spindles with the exhaust pipes off. So here I am putting the chain on and aligning the back wheel, getting that all set up. Now on the workbench, putting the carburetors back together. What I'm doing is assembling them as the pair with the new piece of hose that joins the two together, and then I'm going to fit them onto the bike as a pair, because I want a nice tight seal between the two of them. After the carbs, I'm loosely fitting the foot pegs. The D model they bolt on underneath, and they're a little bit tricky to get on around the exhaust pipes if you put the pipes on first, and also the exhausts are difficult to get on with the foot pegs there. So I'm just putting them on loosely so that I can rock them from side to side, give me a little bit of play in order to wiggle the pipes on. So exhaust pipes coming down from the mezzanine where they've been in storage for the last few months. Just lining them up really with the rear mount first. The manifolds are also loose so I can twist and move things around. New exhaust gaskets going into the cylinder barrels and just gently threading them through the footrests, loosely securing it on the back mount, and then lining up the manifold to the barrel ready to tighten down. Yeah, everything lined up really quickly. Hello. Thank you. Kisses.
Wow. There's another one, isn't it? Yeah, I see it on the side there when I asked.
Okay, quick sit rep. Rear wheel is on, tightened. Sprockets and chain are on, tightened and aligned. I need to spanner check the foot pegs, and also look at the gearbox oil and some carburetor work, and fit the battery, and after that I'll see if we've got a spark. Just working my way through those few jobs I just spoke about, spanner checking everything as I go. Also got to put the Kickstarter on so that I don't have to turn the engine over by using the wheel all the time, and then I think we're good for the next stage. Carburetors are on and connected, but not balanced or set up in any way. Electrics are connected, batteries connected. I've just kicked the bike over with the spark plugs out and resting on the cylinder heads, and we have a good spark. So I'm just going to put the spark plugs in and mix up some 2-stroke mix to use in the remote tank, and then I think we're going to be ready to fire it up. A minor catastrophe with the brake pedal. Over tightened the bolt and sheared it off, but luckily I cut a small slot in the tiny piece of bolt that was protruding and managed to get it out with a screwdriver. Very lucky. Okay, at the situation where everything is back together, everything should run. We've got a spark, the carburetors are fitted up. I've not balanced them yet. I've just set the mixture at 1.5 turn out, and I've made a fuel mix of 30:1. I think it's a bit richer than it should be, so a bit more oily than it should be. Unbelievable. Really chuffed. It runs. Clearly there's some messing about to do with the carburetors. It felt a little bit hangy when I closed the throttle, but I mean the engine's cold, so I think now it's just a question of messing around with the mixture settings on the carburetor and the needle heights to get that to run well. The other thing I need to do is work on the oil pump as well. Make sure that that is pumping out the correct amount of oil equally to both sides. So I'll save that for another video, and I'm going to call it a win for the day. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe. See you in the next one.